Hello, Gentleman Gamer here, and today I'm playing EVE Online, and I've traveled to the region of Solitude, the system of Post-Uven, to take a look at the Society of Conscious Thought Keepstar that has been anchored in system to help coordinate efforts to combat the Kyonoke plague outbreak that we've been dealing with in New Eden for the past 3 weeks or so. So before we get into the lore aspect itself, we'll talk about the structure itself. It is a Keepstar class Citadel, so it's still pretty rare in game. So if you haven't seen one, it's a pretty good chance to come take a look at one. The trip itself to Solitude might be a little tricky though, because Solitude is a high-sec island. So to get to it, you have to go through low-sec and null-sec. So I would advise a cloaky ship of some kind and being careful. Or in my case, it's an interceptor, and also being careful to get here in one piece. Let's get back to the lore aspect of this. This station is put down to research the plague, and the plague didn't start in the 4 sites that we're going to talk about soon, but it actually started in a site called the Kyonoke Pits. There's actually is a whole chronicle on it, so I'm going to give a short synopsis of it. But if you're really interested in it, I'll put the link of the chronicle in the description. That way you can get the full context of what happened. But in short, the Kaldari were mining an asteroid near a planet in the system of Tazy, I believe it was. And they were mining it out. They got pretty deep into it, and at some point, everyone on the mining facility got sick, and they died pretty quickly. So the Kaldari sealed it up. And it's been sealed up for a very long time, but recently we found out that there's been at least 1 successful breach attempt and 1 failed one 5 weeks before that. So people have been in it, and they most likely got samples of this disease, and it reflects these new infection sites. So let's talk about the new ones. The first one that actually was infected was Makoton in Mimnitar space. This was the Freedom Extension orbital elevator, and we don't know exactly, well, from what I read, I don't know exactly how the infection got past there. I'm not sure if the elevator itself was infected, because all we know is that 80 or so personnel on the elevator got infected, and also 12 people passing through also got infected and were quarantined. So I'm assuming the 12 people passing through were not from the planet, because if they were infected on the planet, then there'd be more infections on the planet itself. So I'm assuming they came in through a spacecraft of some kind, and they could have brought the disease to the platform maybe, but the quarantine didn't work, and later they had to isolate the entire platform, and that didn't work either, so they had to untether it for safety issues. It's probably a good idea for seeing how infectious this disease actually is. The second site to get infected was Murska City in Kaldari space. Now, this one seems pretty interesting how I think it happened. In the article itself, it said a frigate entered the atmosphere and crashed south of Murska City. And later on, a few hours later, the Zhao Medical Center was quarantined or sealed off. I'm not sure which word they used, but I'm assuming that the people in the frigate, were brought to this medical center, and they were infected, and then they got the whole city infected, which they had to seal off at some point. And seal off, I mean actually sealed off. They actually put a dome over the entire city. What do they call it? I call it a nanodome. And this, I keep thinking of The Simpsons, Springfield getting covered in that dome. But from this site, they actually found the strain was different than the original. So the strain was changed to be a bit more infectious, and what happens out in the new strain, it actually takes longer, to a few hours to get show symptoms of this, to manifest. So I'm assuming if you want to get more people infected, you don't want them to die super fast. So it sounds like they've weaponized it. Like, obviously, why would you want to weaponize something this strong? But they tailored it to a specific purpose for maximum infection. That's what it sounds like anyway. Now the third site that got infected was in EFU in Amar space, and this was at the Genolution station. Now this is pretty clear cut. There was a visitor to the station, and he started feeling sick, and he was brought to one of the medical facilities on the station. And a few hours later, the medical staff started feeling sick as well. Then they started to, seal off decks on the station, and they sealed it off with fusion welding to the ventilation ducts or vents. So apparently that's worked, which is good because it does appear to be airborne. So in that station it worked. In this one, in pose 2 of him, the transmission's a little different because we don't have a lot of information. Let's take a look at the actual site here. No, not going to target it. So here it is. Now, the only issue we have with the story here is that all we know that there was reports of, I'm not sure it would be just, is it looting or just massive disruptions on the actual facility. An SOS of some kind was sent out. But 15 minutes later, the platform itself sent back, oh, it was just a hoax, we're all fine. Very odd. And then after that, a complete blackout from the station. No more communication from the station at all. So that seems very odd. And it seems far more active infection than the other 3 sites. The other 3 sites, people just got sick, and that was it. But this seems like a more, unless maybe the operation went badly in this one, and that's why we know there was people on the station sending false reports out. I don't know. I know that the Galenti authorities are looking and investigating this situation here in particular as a form of terrorism, but I'm assuming all the sites are probably fall into that category. But I think the really cool part about all of this is that not only will this Keep Star be a focal point in game for events that I'm assuming will start around FanFest, CCP is actually going to do a physical representation of this site in real life. Now, I'm not sure if the entire FanFest Convention Center will be this Keep Star or just a small part of it, but there's going to be events in real life that people at FanFest can take part in, and events in-game as well that we can take part in if you're not going, that will affect the story arc, I guess you would call it. So it's very, very cool. So I'm going to have to put a jump clone around here somewhere so I can jump back and forth, take part when FanFest starts. But it sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm really curious of how all this shakes out. But that is the video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, of course, leave a like. If you like the content, of course, subscribe, and fly safe and fly brave.